Wonderful good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. So greetings from the UK. And it's a pleasure to be here with all of you on this, what has been a great conference. And I'm very grateful to be here. So before we get started, I'd like to thank a few very key pivotal people in my life. So firstly, Dr. Datta. Without him, I wouldn't be standing here right now. So it's a tremendous pleasure working with him on this very, very human-orientated project. Now, just to give you guys a context, I'm presenting the abstract of a book that him and I are working on, which is coming out in fall of 2025. And also, I'd like to thank Regent College London, where I've been established and working there for the past 21 years. And I'd like to thank my wonderful family and my amazing sister who's here with me right now. I'm just going to avoid eye contact with her, otherwise I'm going to start laughing. So I'm going to be like that, all things considered. So let's go straight into the author's part. So a bit of a professional background about myself. I've been working in education for the past 21 years with a little sprinkle of experience in IT, CRM, and accounting. Definitely a bit of a short stint in accounting. And Dr. Datta, he's been a wonderful mentor, a great friend, and it's truly, words cannot describe. If I described, how much I appreciate if I am of him, we'd be here until I don't even have a watch. So I think we'll skip to the next part. So let's go straight into the introduction. So the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a octagon of mindset and very human-orientated framework. So the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of research out there about AI, about technology. I believe in a balance. We should have more of a prominent balance between, especially with the younger generation, they're growing up with technology. And I feel like I'm more of the human factor of it. I mean, my background is IT, information systems, databases, but what I realize with technology is that we are the ones who control technology. We are the ones who pull the trigger, so to speak. So what this is interconnected series of key factors like work ethic, objective reality, and I'll give certain examples as this presentation progresses. So going straight into the background of the book, when it comes to the background, in addition to the information we have here, I'd like to express this as a story. So in 2013, I was working as a CRM consultant in a small accounting firm. And the manager of the accounting firm, he said, okay, I said, we have a situation. We have this information system. We spend £10,000 a year. We need the return on investment. The system is not working. I spent a couple of weeks, spoke to all stakeholders, spoke to the operational staff, spoke to management. And the more I dug into the fact finding, I realized, you know what? It's not the IT system that's the issue. It's the people factor. Because the management wanted a change of the system in a week. And the operational staff, in addition to their accounting duties, tax returns, they were asked to turn the system around and utilize it as part of their day-to-day. How can you use a system in a week? Time compromises quality. So the more I realized it, in the company, it was more of a us versus them on a simple aspect such as a system. It would have taken 10 minutes to address this issue. So I ended up being more of a mediator rather than a CRM systems consultant. So my point being, ladies and gentlemen, is systems are very important, but the human element, we are the most important prerequisite before businesses, before technology. So in addition to the information here, I'd just like to say that technology and businesses, as we all know, they have unlimited potential. The issue with us, ladies and gentlemen, is we have a limit. Why? Each day we have a limited stack of cards, a deck of cards that we have, emotions, intelligence, patience and patience. So when do we show the world the right cards at the right time to get the most out of people who control businesses, who control technology? It's so very important to consider that. And moving on now, so in terms of, like I said earlier about AI, technology research, very important. But I think we should have a balance, ladies and gentlemen. And the more people look at AI, the more I go the other way, like, okay, that's great. You guys got the research sorted. I'm more of a human component. I want to see what drives us, what makes us tick. Because if we sort ourselves out, we'd be able to sort out technology. Long story short, we need to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Okay, so when it comes to how the book is structured, these are, as I mentioned earlier, through the diagram, these are key areas: self-awareness, dreams and aspirations, so mindset, duty orientation, etc. So I will give you a couple of examples which are very, very precious to me. One thing I realized in almost my 40 years on this planet is fulfillment versus desire. When I used to, let's say, manage small teams a long time ago, I realized some of them weren't happy. It could be many different things, personal factors. So, and what I realized, what I dug in is that sometimes we desire what we don't have, and we take for granted what we have. So, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to this particular factor, we need to understand how we balance fulfillment versus our desires. Right? So if we're able to understand what makes us happy, then we'd be in a better position to express ourselves, to be happy in what we do in life, especially in the business world, professionally, personally, etc. So that brings me to a little story. When I was a kid, I desired as all kids do, toys at a certain age. So I used to miss this a lot. A shop called Toys R Us. So my parents, on special occasions, we'd go there, and I'd desire that toy for months, Once I had that toy in my hand, the journey was fulfilled. The destination didn't feel like I felt nothing. So then I was looking for the next excitement, next journey. We all like that in life, whether it's intangible fulfillment and desire, whether it's intangible, So how do we figure ourselves out? So this is the type of human factor we look at into this book to ensure that we are able to, understand ourselves more in order to have happiness and in order to understand each other more and not to judge each other. Assumptions are a very, very detrimental factor to us. And another purpose for this book, ladies and gentlemen, is, I would say, for the younger generation. When you think about it, the older we get, we have more hopeful experience and wisdom. But when it comes to younger generations, I have no idea where I fit in. I'm more in the older generation, I guess. But with the younger generation, they have more physical attributes and less experience. So with this type of book, where I'm hoping and praying that for the younger generation, they have, obviously, at a young age, their strong physical attributes, but we need to give back more to the generation beneath us to bring back those experience areas, because it's insane to think generation like your kids, your future generations, technology is just part of almost like DNA. But with us, our generation, we have a balance, right? But they won't have that. So this is the purpose, more of a human factor. So in terms of the conclusion, this book, as mentioned previously, is supposed to be launched by fall 2025. So in terms of what we're trying to achieve is we're trying to contribute to existing literature with a framework that looks at different stories. Now, these stories, ladies and gentlemen, they're not saying you have to think of a certain way, you have to feel a certain way. It's stories, religious context, business context, professional context. So in that way, you can draw your own conclusion. It provokes more questions, more interpretation, right? So before we conclude, I'd like to just share a story from the book. The theme is assumptions, okay? So there was once upon a time, and hopefully a happily ever after in this story. So there was a kid in the year 2000 who was studying his O-levels, his GCSEs, very crucial stage. And he used to have a lot of cover teachers in his school. Every lesson he'd go into, there'd be cover tutors for some strange reason, maths, English, science, etc. He wanted to learn, he needed to learn, of course. But when he asked the cover tutors for help, the teachers would say, I'm not here next week, so take the sheet of paper and figure it out, kid. So that kid became very lethargic, very demotivated, and the mother noticed that. So the mother said to the kid, I'm going to get you an English tutor. At least let's get the ball rolling. If the school's not helping, I'd get you a tutor. So the tutor came for a couple of months, and without even asking, what's wrong, kid? Like, without the qualifying questions, she came up with her own conclusion that the kid was going to amount to nothing because he's just there. He's just doesn't want to study. But, you know, to contrary, it was the opposite case. So the English tutor said to the mother that you got a couple of other kids, cut your losses with this kid. So, you know, let him be. So this was the year 2000. And 2009, it's funny how things work. The kid, obviously not a kid anymore, he worked in a company as part of the recruitment department where he had to interview a lot of people in the local area for different jobs, etc. And guess who that kid had to interview on one of those days? It was the English tutor. So you see, the tables turned, but when that kid he kept his composure, he obviously recognized who that person was. And he took a deep breath, implemented the interview accordingly, professionally. And once he accompanied her to the car park, he said, you know what, did you recognize, you've taught a lot of people, but do you recognize who I am? And she said, no, not really. And I said, but I recognize you. And thank you for assuming something, because I knew I wouldn't take it personally because you didn't take enough data and information to make a decision on what that kid is capable of. So long story short, ladies and gentlemen, two things I'd like to finish off with. Lecturing is not what I do, it's who I am. And there's no better powerful feeling in the world than you know who you are. So I am standing here after a long time of frustration of what am I doing with myself? I'm following other people's dreams, accounting, etc. But I'm standing here firmly with my feet on the ground and, you know, happiness in my heart saying, this book has actually made me realize who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I'm very grateful for it. So going back to two takeaways from that story, which I said, there's two takeaways. Number one, and this is to anyone, we shouldn't judge each other. You know, sometimes we feel insecure. Sometimes we feel like we're stressed. We have a cup of coffee in one hand. We have a phone on the other, and we make quick assumptions. We have to drop the kids off to school. Oh, hubby will be back home on time. And we assume so much. Let's qualify things. Take a moment, qualify, and ask yourself the right questions to get the right answers. So, and clearly that's something I learned from that particular story. Final takeaway from that story. Would anyone like to guess who that kid was? Yours truly. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.